musical chairs
Where's
right
our intro music? What's going on here today?
We got to acapella this thing?
Here's what's happening. We don't have any intro music. A moment of silence because we're bringing back AJ Green's corpse today at PHNX Cardinals Live. Welcome to the PHNX Cardinals podcast, presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always, partner in crime, Mr. Bo Brock. Our resident receiver, Mr. Frank Sanders, number 81, is back today. Gentlemen, I was thinking earlier today, what were we going to talk about? And then in the afternoon exploded, and we now have a boatload to discuss. Josh Hunt in the chat, who, by the way, posted a hysterical video. If you haven't seen it, it's on our PHNX Cardinals Twitter account. Where do we start, gentlemen? AJ Green, he's back. What do you think?
You know me, I'm loving it already off the top. I've been begging for AJ Green to come back anyway. I think he hasn't done anything to that warrants the conversation that he shouldn't be back on this team. I think what he was able to do last year with this team after 54 catches and a little bit more over 800 yards, I still saw upside. But once again, the conversation was, once D-Hop went down, where did he go? Well, I got a question for you guys. Where did Cliff Kingsbury go after D-Hop went down? And that was the big transition to, in my opinion, to most of what we end up seeing. And Cliff has definitely been on a record about saying that he didn't do a great job of once D-Hops went down with the offense. So I'm glad to have AJ back. The money that's on the table is a little bit of nothing. I mean, JV, we got him for a dollar store price. Come on, man. And you can't be mad. Got him for a dollar store price. That's $1.25 now if you pay attention to the market. But I'm happy. I'm glad that he's back, and receiver that knows the system, a plug-and-play guy, didn't get hurt last year, gave y'all 17 games. Those are all bonuses to me.
Frank, completely agree. I mean, but where is the contingency plan? I think that we're still awaiting that. I like the accountability from Cliff Kingsbury, but like AJ Green opposite DeAndre Hopkins being that Z receiver, that's the best AJ Green you can get right there. I mean, I thought that he flashed enough early on and can play that complementary role perfectly for this offense. Now we just need to kind of find who's going to be the guy that's going to step up in the absence of Christian Kirk. Are they going to go in the second, third round, maybe find that guy, maybe even later? Are they going to continue to look at the free agent market? We'll see, but I think that, you know, it's a good fit for both parties. AJ Green, where was he going to go? He's going to go learn another offense. He was going to be onto his third team in 3 years. And then as far as the Cardinals, I mean, we saw, you know, what that role looks like with him opposite D-Hop, and I like it. I mean, you just have to move forward with the group that was kind of 10-2 here, the DeAndre Hopkins, Arizona Cardinals, what that looked like in the red zone, everything. And AJ, like, if he's your number one receiver, sure, we got problems at his age. But if he's your number two, if he's your fringe three, I'm cool with it.
You know, I initially was hesitant on bringing him back for a bunch of different reasons. Number one was I thought this kind of contract with AJ Green was not going to happen after the robust receiver market that we saw to begin free agency. And, you know, put aside his age, his production, whatever. I just thought there was an inflated price coming with receivers. You remember, like, most of the contract proposals with AJ Green coming into this offseason and beyond were 1-2 year deals, $8 to $9 million per season. I didn't have an appetite for that. And then the Christian Kirk contract came, and I'm like, shit, is somebody going to pay AJ Green 10 to 12 million next year just because? So I felt much better today, even though, like, it's whatever. I still want them to address receiver pick 23. I still think they need to get more explosive. Does AJ Green have a role for this team? Absolutely. He showed value. It was a good signing. I don't want this move to take precedent over a young rookie wide receiver, a phenom, if they get Burks or somebody else at 23. Like, don't let AJ Green take valuable snaps over a rookie. All that being said, you're paying him nothing. $3 million is nothing. If he hits his incentives and gets to 6, awesome. But I mean, that he's making as much, if not lesser, than a lot of these guys that really aren't going to have starting roles on this team. So it tells me, okay, Bo Brock, like, is AJ Green a bridge to another player that we're going to add in 2 weeks? That's my hope. And I'm glad it was taken care of before the draft, because, you know, if they would have missed out on a receiver in 2 weeks and gone crawling back to AJ Green, like, maybe his demands are a little bit more.
Well, they're reading the draft tea leaves. They're seeing that as far as the guys that they're intrigued by in this draft, Jamison Williams. I mean, Chris Mortensen, he reported today on ESPN that he believes JMO is going to be a top 10 pick. And he's getting a free trip to Arizona this next week for a pre-draft visit. But realistically, who's going to be there at 23? So if the Arizona Cardinals and you're staring down, the fifth or sixth best wide receiver in this class, you might be better settled to get another prospect at a different position. So we'll see what that means. I don't think it takes, I agree with you. I don't think it takes them out of selecting a playmaker in this draft, but I think it looks a little bit different. Does it look like a John Mechie III, a guy that can kind of play in the middle of the field, maybe more a slot receiver than that need that we thought initially on the outside? Frank Sanders, what does AJ Green bring to the table, though, being a veteran presence, another veteran presence in that locker room for if they do bring in some young guys?
Look, we got to go back and just address one issue. We do not know what D-Hop is going to be like when he come back. No one knows that. We watch him in the swimming pool, but that's it. Everybody coming from an ACL injury is not mentally and emotionally might not be the same guy, and he's still the same guy that we could be paying a lot of money to. I like the fact that we have AJ. I like it when I see that our offense it becomes not predictable. Once D-Hop got hurt, we saw AJ sit on the right side the entire rest of the football season. That's pathetic across the board. And we saw that last year with DeAndre Hopkins, and we saw him on the left side of the entire side, JV. And it was pathetic that we saw our number one receiver sit on the one side of the left side of the football field. And that was a sad thing. What I see out of AJ, if he's there, we still have a guy that we know can still be productive. Every NFL receiver's production only comes about his opportunities. We talked about that when we look at Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp gets 175 opportunities, he's got 146 catches, then you're going to see his production numbers look better than anybody else. We use the term the number one receiver, a two receiver, a three receiver. They're all starting receivers. You just got to get the ball to them. How you going to figure out how you get the ball to them? All of them are starting. I'm okay with going to get somebody with number 23, because we don't know where D-Hops is going to be. I agree with you, JV. I would like to see that and bring some extra talent in, some height, some speed, somebody we can get over top. But AJ brings a presence. He's got numbers. And once D-Hop got hurt, guess what? Everyone can start rolling the coverage to his side and start shutting the offense down, because we became a one-sided offense, and that was pathetic. So hopefully that's not the case, JV, this year.
Yeah, I saw AJ Green deteriorate as the season went on.
Are you kidding me?
And I saw his lack of production. I saw his lack of production at the end of the season. I have a big fat caveat to this. If DeAndre Hopkins is healthy and playing, there's a really nice role for AJ Green on this offense. When AJ Green has to elevate himself to a 2 or a 3 on certain Sundays,
he's a starting receiver. He's already a 2.
From a 3 to a 2 or a 1B, that's where we have issues. Last year, when DeAndre Hopkins went down, even with Zach Ertz, Christian Kirk and AJ Green wet the bed. They did not get it. As a whole, though, neither one of those guys stepped up. AJ Green has, just like Christian Kirk has a role on this team. If you could have brought back Christian Kirk, Bo Brock, for $3 million, hell yeah, you do it. Right?
He wouldn't
Both those guys.
That's
exactly my point.
Yeah, he's making 7 times that.
Yeah, good for him. And the Jaguars will rule the day they sign that contract extension. But I mean, both those guys, their numbers were almost identical, separated about 100 yards, right? I feel like you've got the straw that stirs the drink in D-Hop. You've got an X factor in Rondell Moore, who we haven't seen really his peak yet, and what he could be with an expanded route tree. Hopefully a seamless transition for a rookie receiver to come in and be productive. And then AJ Green, just a little cherry on top. Like AJ Green comes out, has 500-600 yards, maybe a third of the targets removed from last year, 4 or 5 touchdowns. That's fine. He's a role player now. He is not a focal point.
Johnny, you heard me, Johnny. You heard it.
It's fine.
No, it's not fine, man. Hell no, it's not fine.
It's all about the money. The money dictates the role, and the amount of money they're paying him tells me your role is going to be limited. I hope your role is going to be limited compared to what it was last year. You are hopefully just insurance if we flub up our rookie. That's what it's telling me.
I think it just puts them in a position to get the best player available at 23. It doesn't push them into a position to have to draft a wide receiver now. And if they want to wait till 55, if they want to wait till 87, that's fine. AJ Green, Kyler Murray loves AJ Green. Like, we know that. I mean, with DeAndre Hopkins off the field, he was his number one target. And I talked to Kyler Murray's trainer, Stephen Baca, and he said for his first kind of when he worked out with AJ Green in Texas, he said, this guy's a demon. He still believes in AJ Green.
Remember last summer, it was insane the kind of hype he had.
Yeah. But here's what happens, though, and we've seen it with guys that age. It's like for the marathon of a 17-game season now, I mean, it's unrealistic, especially when you're going to put the workload on AJ Green to be a number one guy. That's unrealistic for sure. But if he is in that complimentary role, it's perfect. And you said, you're right. The money dictates that as well. But they got to get some more speed in this lineup. Whether it's a running back, whether it's a wide receiver, they got to get some more speed. They're a little too veteran laden for me. I mean, you got DeAndre Hopkins, 29. AJ Green's going to be 34. You've got Zach Ertz, who's 31. James Conner, you know that he's got to be on a snap count. So there's a lot has to go right for this. They're not leaving any margin for error offensively on this squad, even with the addition of AJ Green.
We got some good comments here. A lot of people are pro this move. I thought if we had taken a pulse of the fan base after the season, everybody would have been hands off AJ Green returning. But I do think it throws a little cold water on receiver or bust. My mindset, maybe Bose for pick 23. Frank Sanders will wrap it up with this. What's the best kind of season look like for AJ Green next year? What do you think he can accomplish, and what could be his last year in Arizona?
I would say that 54 catches, 800 yards, a limited amount of opportunities when, the offense luck it sputtered tremendously and the play calling was not innovative. And so I got a couple of that, man. Like, I can't crap on a guy because he's older and watch him and still serve 800 yards in the NFL, man. And you're still not, you're a 2B or a 6C or M or 15Z guy. Whatever that is. You're starting receiving NFL, and if the plays are right, which we saw, these guys was catching balls. They were unstoppable, JV. You know that, and I know that. We saw. I marveled at what was going on. Once D Hops got hurt, it went to bed, man. It went to stalemate, and I'm sad by that. What I would like to see is another 50. I'll take another 55, 75 catches. I think that's an easy number with our quarterback who has a great arm and can throw the hell out of that ball. So that, to me, he's the catalyst that changes things. So I like between 60 to 75 catches, maybe a little bit less than 1,000. But I would like to see 5 to 7 touchdowns, and I think that's definitely doable if the offense stays innovative, man, and you can keep your matchups. When you got one-on-one with D Hops, nobody's gonna go one-on-one with D Hops. They're not gonna do Zach Ertz. They find a way to get in the ball in the middle of the field. That's another 75 catches. So the offense is there with the opportunity for all these guys, literally and honestly, to catch somewhere between 55 and 95 balls easily this year. And some will be over 1,000, some won't be.
They're going to run it back from a team that's 10-2. That's my general takeaway from this offseason. But thankfully, they do add new players. In 2 weeks from today, the beginning of the NFL draft, which we will be having a party live at the Ainsworth Hotel. Isaiah in the chat, I heard about the draft party. I'm very excited, as are we, Isaiah. I may be doing a double event that day. I'll be attending the draft party from 4 to 6 p.m., then heading to the Coyotes game early. Love that.
Hell yeah.
Definitely a best practice. And for those of you who don't know, 28th of April, the first round of the NFL draft. We're kicking it off early. I think the draft starts at 5:30 that evening. April 28th, 4 p.m. at the Ainsworth. Meet and greet. Byron Murphy will be in attendance. Arizona Cardinal cornerback, as my counterpart Bo Brock likes to call him, CB1, will be there signing autographs, shaking hands. I don't know if he's doing photos or not. Somebody asked me that on Twitter today. I'll have to double check on that for you. But I do know the first 50 people that get in, so you get a ticket. If you're one of the first 50, you get free autograph and meet him. So No caveat, no hidden fees, just good fun, Bo Brock.
And if Byron Murphy's not doing pictures, I think Frank Sanders will, right?
All three of us would be right there, man, in our PHNX shirts, man, looking fly, signing autographs, and taking pictures with the patrons, man, because we love the people.
Isaiah knows more than I do. He says they are doing photos. I didn't want to see. I felt like we were doing photos, but I didn't want to come out and be like, he's doing photos,
Right.
and then disappoint people, because all I do is disappoint people, according to this show.
Speaking of photos, man,
Oh my God.
They got another
Johnny.
Johnny. Come on, man.
You and beer don't get it. You know what?
No, I like alcohol. All right. First of all, we got to talk about Kyler Murray. Before we do, I want to remind everybody the NBA playoffs mean next level basketball. Get ready for all the action by playing and betting on the play-in tournament with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win, and you get $150 in free bets instantly. You clinch no matter what happens. The playing games conclude tomorrow night. It's been a hell of a start to the NBA postseason. All DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on NBA hoops with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for an even bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. Plus, for each day of the play-in, get risk-free bet up to $10 if your same-game parlay doesn't hit. So you're making money regardless. Call to action. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use that promo code PHNX, bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the play-in tournament. Get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and older, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customer only. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for more details. You can gamble on DraftKings. You can also gamble, Bo Brock, with your franchise quarterback, and that appears to be what the Arizona Cardinals are doing with Kyler Murray.
Did you take the bait, Johnny? Are you taking the bait from Eric Burkhart to play in the public arena and start negotiating a Kyler Murray extension at an unprecedented time?
Are we in the final days of Kyler Murray as an Arizona Cardinal?
Let's not start that. Come on. We're just getting started with Kyler Murray. He's going to get a fresh new contract probably before the beginning of the season. But Tom Pelissero, he was raining on our AJ Green parade today as we were, I guess, celebrating. Were we celebrating? Is that the – yeah,
you celebrate with, like, crackers.
Then it was a Pelissero bomb. Here's what he said. The Cardinals have yet to make a contract offer to Pro Bowl quarterback Kyler Murray. His agent, Eric Burkhart, informed the team weeks ago he was pulling his opening proposal off the table per sources. Other teams are monitoring closely. Arizona says Murray won't be traded. 4 quarterbacks, Pelissero noted that Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, Derek Carr have signed contract extensions worth $40 million or more the past month. Market continues to go up. Murray due $5.5 million in 2022. Let's not forget some roster bonuses in there, but it'd be a surprise, according to Pelissero, if he plays under that. And also, Pelissero quote tweeted his own tweet saying that the Cardinals said they want to extend Kyler. Eventually, Murray said recently, I'm really not too worried about my future as a Cardinal, but with 2 weeks until the draft, there are no negotiations and other teams are watching. A situation to monitor, according to Pelissero. All right. This is bait. This is nothing more than Eric Burkhart trying to force the Arizona Cardinals into a public negotiation. We've seen this play out with other quarterbacks. After year 3, free agency happens, the draft happens, and then they get extended, big mega $1 million extension. Eric Burkhart doesn't want that. He wants a historic contract, and he wants it early, just so he can kind of put that on his resume. Because there's no reason otherwise to do it. I don't get it. I honestly don't, and I'm not going to take the bait on this because, as far as the people that matter, Kyler Murray and the organization, they're saying all the right things.
Are you ready to apologize, Bo Brock? Yesterday on this show, you said that the Cardinals did not screw themselves by waiting to sign Kyler Murray to an extension. Do you still feel that way today, 24 hours later?
No, I still feel that way. I don't see what the big deal is. I mean, you're going to tell me that the Las Vegas Raiders, one of the worst organizations in the last couple decades, and the Cleveland Browns, they're going to force another organization and how they're going to pay their quarterback. Like, you're going to bring that to the negotiation table. The Browns paid $230 million guaranteed dollars to Deshaun Watson. And they're going to say, well, that's the only way they got back into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Like, we live like you can kind of bring that nuance to the negotiation table. It's not in black and white that way. Like Kyler Murray is going to get more of a contract that resembles Josh Allen. And sure, it's going to go tick up a little bit, but it's not going to matter what Derek Carr's done and what he's getting paid and what Deshaun Watson's going to get paid. And what truly is going to matter is how Steve Keim sets up the contract each and every season and how it impacts the Cardinals cap, because that's all that really matters on a year-to-year basis. Because when you look at these mega $1 million contracts and how they're impacting this year's cap, it hasn't like taken the teams out of the ability to field competitive teams.
It's an ugly situation for the Cardinals right now. It really is. I think Tom is on point, man. It's just an ugly situation. The optics are horrible. You could be. We talked about this last year and how important it was to get certain names of free agents in and sign these guys and get them locked in, and that it made it more attractive to become an Arizona Cardinal. Your starting quarterback even isn't signed, so you don't know what you're going to get. And if you're talking about bringing in free agent receivers, that in itself is, well, who's the quarterback? If you don't sign him, then he might not be here. And they have to. That deal needs to be done. And the longer they prolong it, the worse it looks optically. The way it's making the fans feel and the conversation. If you just want to stay in the media, then don't sign them. And then say, hey, we're going to sign you on June 30th, and then that's when, right before we go up into training camp, and then that's good because we kept our name viable the whole entire offseason. But I think it's bad, man. And the conversation that's out there, it leaves room for more options that I would hate to start talking about trading Kyler Murray on draft day because we decided that was a better move, and that could be on the table.
The timing of this whole thing is a little sketch.
It's sketchy, right? It's sketchy.
It's they're trying to twist the screws. I swear, I wish I could negotiate against you guys. If you're really going to bow down to if this sets a worse precedent for the Arizona Cardinals organization going forward, if they deliver an extension before what's already been done with guys like Josh Allen and Carson Wentz and Jared Goff and Deshaun Watson, all those guys, it's happened in June or later. If the Arizona Cardinals, if they bow down and feed into this fear porn from Kyler Murray's representation and give him his extension now, then every single player that they have in this organization is going to play this game on social media when they want a contract extension.
Well, the Cardinals, though, I think there's a little bit of concern with the Cardinals right now because there have been franchise icons that have left on poor terms. Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, now past their prime, but I mean,
they got paid.
They did. Once upon a time, they did. But
they were the top paid players at their position in their prime.
When was the last time the Cardinals have signed a top player at their position?
Buda Baker.
And that was how long ago? Last offseason?
2020.
Yeah, it's hard to go apples and oranges with a safety and the only franchise quarterback you've ever had. I mean,
they paid Carson Palmer handsomely. He was making some top quarterback money when he was wearing Arizona Cardinals uniform.
Yeah, but
that's
different.
This team is never balked at paying a player in its prime.
Well, who's carrying the water for the organization? They also
come on. What do I have to gain from that?
They also let Kurt Warner go take a visit with San Francisco after he took him to the Super Bowl. Like, let's not give them the most credit here. They have their flaws. They have issues. I think they would prefer. I think they went into this offseason naively thinking they weren't going to have to pay Kyler Murray. And then Kyler and Eric flipped the script on them and said, no, you are going to pay us. Here's a proposal. Michael Bidwell was like, I'm not looking at this shit. And then 8 other quarterbacks got extended in the month of March. And now the Cardinals, I don't think the Cardinals budgeted to extend Kyler Murray this offseason. And now they're going to have to come up and fabricate $45 to $50 million. I think that's what's happening. I think it's why we haven't seen them have a robust free agency. I think they're having to overturn everything they've done this offseason because of the fact that this was thrown on their lap the first week of February, and the number has only risen. And now you've got a quarterback. Everybody in the chat wants to know, is Kyler Murray going to hold out? Now, you've got reports today from folks saying he's not going to hold out, but then national reporters are saying, no, he's not reporting to camp without a new deal. And they've put a timeline on this getting done before the draft because if it doesn't get done, he wants to be traded if it doesn't get done.
That was according to Albert Breer from Monday Morning Quarterback, and then Kyle Odegaard, who I trust his sources a little bit more than Breer's, said that's he's not going to hold out. I mean, come on. I mean, what are
As
we
a
doing
player,
here?
There was a comment real quick. There was a comment
Yeah.
today that I think fully encapsulates this on Twitter. I can't remember who said it, what national reporter. Kyler Murray and Eric Burkhart know that the Cardinals need Kyler Murray more than Kyler Murray needs the Cardinals. And that I've thought that way for 3 years with this young man. He has options, he has leverage, he's using it now. The Cardinals are, let's face it, an irrelevant franchise in a lot of ways without K1. They go from a playoff team to a top 10 drafting team, a team with dysfunction. They're the Carolina Panthers. They're the New York Jets without Kyler Murray. They've got a unstable general manager. They've got an owner who's a franchise's longest championship drought in professional sports history. Of course they're using this leverage. And it's like, what is it? The immovable object meets whatever. Like, that's what's happening. Michael Bidwell doesn't want to be pushed around. Kyler Murray doesn't care. Eric Burkhart, they don't care. And that's why this hasn't gotten done yet.
The numbers don't lie, brothers. They just don't lie, and the optics don't lie. We know that in this situation, for real, they don't lie. You know what? I know what my position is. I know what I produce and produced on the football field. I know what I'm supposed to be paid. I know what I'm supposed to be getting. A contract or no contract, I'm going to hold out regardless, because if I don't get it, then that's on you. And the optics are back on you, not on me, because I'm a 2-time Pro Bowler. You're not going to pay me? I'm the Rookie of the Year. You're not going to pay me? I mean, it's just, yeah,
Who's
I know.
saying they're not going to pay him?
Well, that's the part. I should be getting my money now. We should be moving forward in this conversation.
Nobody.
And guess what, Bo? You're right, Bo. They're going to pay him. They're going to pay him in June. That's what you're saying. You're 100% under the belief that they're going to pay him in June, and then all this will just be water on a duck's back.
And I think what you guys, or not you guys, what I'm saying is people are feeding into this fear that is being put out there by Eric Burkhart. Like, it is hook, line, and sinker. Because people, you could have made the case for Josh Allen. Why isn't he paid now? Why didn't you pay Josh Allen yesterday? He gets paid in July. That's because Josh Allen and his representation decided to go about it in a different way. They didn't want to drag his organization through the mud. I don't understand why Eric Burkhart is doing this. And for whatever reason, I would say, it's turned Kyler Murray, his representation, the Arizona Cardinals organization, into two polarizing figures, to where, you're on one side or on the other side. It's about 50-50. And people are saying, well, the Cardinals are dropping the ball here. Why don't you get Kyler Murray his bag? Where it's just like this, it's never happened in the history of the sport, or since the current contract structure has been in place since 2011.
You know what I think, though? I think that we saw what happened with Dallas, and that was it was an eyesore on when Dak Prescott was supposed to get paid. It was going to get paid, and they chose not to pay him. And but they chose to sign other guys that offseason instead of signing Dak Prescott, and it ruined that team. Then he comes out, he gets hurt, then he goes back, and Jerry Jones has to eat the words and say, guess what? I'm going to pay him, and then we go through the offseason and he finally gets paid. But I think that when we was coming out of the season between March and April, the conversation was, hey, man, we need to pay this guy. We need to go ahead and get this out the way, and let's start establishing what we thought was going to be an immediate jump into the free agency market to start running this team and establishing what this team was going to be after losing, after watching what had happened, in the end of the season. I think that would have been a lot more lucrative and better for us and on the free agency market if we would have signed our quarterback and then went out and then established certain things. And then it might have been a more attractive fit to some of the guys that's either holding out right now or that we just bypassed in the free agency market.
I have not seen where it's been debunked that he's not going to hold out. I felt this entire time that he's not going to show up to anything without a contract. Now, that was kind of debunked because he was shown at the facility working out with J.J. Watt that day. We were all celebrating like, oh, this is probably a step in the right direction. My next question is he going to be at OTAs? Is Kyler Murray going to be at OTAs?
I mean, we'd have to see what the language in his contract is for roster bonuses because
his his rookie little contract, he doesn't care about
well,
that.
he's got about a $4.5 million roster bonus. I mean, that's nothing to kind of sneeze at. I mean, Kyle Odegaard said Kyler Murray has no plans to ask for a trade. Sure.
But
and then we saw him in short shorts with
different.
JJ Watt working out. I mean, what's he doing at the? He's there at the
sign in good faith
now
to work out.
Sure.
But OTAs are different than a random day going and lifting weights with my guy Frank Sanders. When you go to OTAs, you're leading the team, right? You're going through position drills. You might run a little 7-on-7. Like they're counting on you to be the franchise quarterback, not just a random day in March and April just going to work out the facility. I am back on the side of I do not think he's going to report to anything now without a new contract. I think this has gotten ugly enough
because of a Twitter report.
This is very real.
You're gonna start to like what your eyes have seen. You've actually seen Kyler Murray in the facility behind JJ Watt, the best buddy comedy that's going to hit the theaters this summer. Your eyes are lying to you because Tom Pelissero was fed a report from Eric Burkhart, who's the only person that would benefit from this with him and Kyler Murray's camp. You're just going to believe, okay, well, I mean, because they want a deal done now. And it doesn't I like that the Arizona Cardinals are just kind of like, okay, you can play this game. And we're just going to continue to business as usual. And when when Eric Burkhart, he gave them that contract proposal, they didn't even look at it. They're like, we're not ready. They've got what I'm kind of glad that they have a timeline in place and they'll negotiate it when they're ready to negotiate.
This is Pro Football Talk reporting. If Kyler Murray holds out, it would get very expensive quickly for him. He'd lose $4.5 million roster bonus if he's not with the team on the third day, not of OTAs, but training camp. So we're a long way from that. But if he holds out at training camp, yes. If he holds out at training camp 3 days in, he loses $4.5 million.
You say it's nothing to sniff at. It's actually you can sneeze on it, spit on it, and move it out the way. Just because if I'm going to get $42 million to $47 million, that $4 million mean nothing in the scope of what I'm trying to really hold out for, which I believe I deserve. And that's the difference in the conversation. I believe I deserve this. And if you're not willing to do that, then we need to move forward in another direction. The optics look like, yeah, we're all together. But you signed your head coach and you signed the general manager. And so if I'm not the future, then what are we doing? And again, that we could take this and say what everyone else is saying. Every other quarterback they've already moved that deal out of the way. And then yet we're still here having this conversation if we don't. And again, Bo, you believe it's going to happen in June? I'll ride with you, dog. But I'm definitely not going. JV, I won't be at minicamp. I won't be at OTAs. I won't be at minicamp. I won't be at no way, brother. I'm not doing it. Because if I get hurt, I'm screwed. See, that's the point. That's why I would hold out. Because if I get hurt in camp, I have no negotiating power. I lose that waiting on June. For Eric
Burkhart to leak out that, hey, guys, we'd like to be extended now because if we're not extended before the draft, we want to leave the door open for other teams to trade for Kyler so he can get his extension then. Does not he'll be a Cardinal if the Cardinals are going to pay him the most money. But I feel like Kyler and his representation thinks like, I'll go to Carolina, I'll go to Pittsburgh if they're going to pay me $50 million. Like I do think that we're probably giving him too much credit from a charity thing he did a couple weeks ago saying, I'm an Arizona Cardinal. Well, yeah, for now, but if another team wants to pay him more money and the Cardinals don't, why would they not want to explore that? That's what I'm taking away from a lot of these comments. They want to go where the money is. I'm not saying that's wrong, but like his stock is not saddled with this franchise until they pay him. No chance.
Look, I just don't. The Arizona Cardinals, and I'm still waiting to hear where they balked at paying a player as one of the highest paid players at his position. It's just happened. They have there's a long list of players that have been paid handsomely. Like you can put the other variables into it. What happened with Christian Kirk? What happened with Calais Campbell? What happened with Chandler Jones and Patrick Peterson? But the last three were in their 30s. It wasn't a prime quarterback. So I don't think that there should be any doubt. I think if you just hold steady, if you don't buy into this fear porn from Eric Burkhart, Kyler Murray's representation, because he wants this done now, because he knows it's going to be historic. He knows it's going to be ahead of faster than anybody else did it. because and then if you're a representative of Justin Fields or Mac Jones or Trey Lance or Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, then you'll throw a party because now there's a new goal line for this. The goalposts are now been moved.
Can I add this little notation? We're using the term fear, and I just want to say this here. I think that if you don't sign me, I already know my options. And so, but if you don't sign me, then you have options to trade me or to do stuff in the draft, and to wait for the last minute for that. Because Eric might be arguing that if you just sign him, you take away that conversation of me having to think that you're not going to sign me, or that on draft day you'd walk up and say the Arizona Cardinals has traded Kyler Murray to the Atlanta Falcons along with blah, blah, blah for the first round, for their Atlanta's first round draft pick on day one, and they walk up before it gets started to the podium. That is very possible to happen. And you know why? Because this entire offseason, for the most part, Kyler Murray's been the bad guy and the flunky on why the Arizona Cardinals stunk up this season. He has poor attitude. He has poor leadership. He has this. He has that. So everything has been crapped on Kyler. And who got the new contract? Not the head coach got the new contract. So forget what he did, but look at what I didn't do. And so now, yeah, I'm the agent of that player, I'm going to say let's kill all this hate conversations about my player and sign him. But if you don't want to do that, then now I'm definitely not showing the OTAs. I'm definitely going to keep pushing the narrative that it's all about the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have the right to do that. I agree, but that fear that's out there is the part that Kyler's been the bad guy the whole offseason. And so if you don't sign him, you're telling me you got options and you're going to keep your door open until probably after the draft. And that's a scary spot. That is a scary spot to be if you're Kyler Murray, because then you don't know. Then you just got played.
If you're taking a pulse of the media and whether or not they believe this is going to happen, to hold out a trade, I think the local perspective is there'll be a deal done. Everybody's got time. National perspective is that everything's on the table. And there are some people thinking smoke where there's fire with regard to leaking this out before the draft, wanting to expedite it. I do think that it's a little bit media driven. It's probably naive to say on this show of all shows, but I would definitely like to clarify, like, people who are in touch with this organization do not believe they're going to trade Kyler Murray. There's no way to benefit from that. And I think if you're putting Michael Bidwill in a position where you either have to trade the one thing that has escaped you your entire career, your dad's entire career, a young franchise quarterback, trading that entity to somebody else to reap the benefits of Kyler Murray's prime years, or just paying him a little bit more money, you're better served paying him. And Michael Bidwill, he's a smart guy. And I think he's much more level-headed than his father. Frank probably knows that firsthand. But at the end of the day, like, the longer they wait, Bo, I just feel like the worse this becomes from a public perspective and from a financial perspective.
Well, until the deal's done. And then we'll get the details on the deal, and you say, whoa, that wasn't, it's either what I expected, or it's a little bit less, or it completely, blows it out of the water what we were expecting as far as guaranteed money and what he's going to make on a yearly basis. But look, I think that Eric Burkhart, I think a lot of people for the first time saw Kyler Murray look mortal against the Los Angeles Rams in that playoff game. And the idea that each and every season Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals have tasted more success than the previous season. They have 5 wins the first season, improved off a 3-win season. They had 8 wins the next year on the outside of looking into the playoffs. And then they make it into the playoffs with 11 wins. It's going to be tough to have a better season than 11 wins, especially in a murderer's row NFC West, and continue to get better and better. Right now, the iron is hot, and Eric Burkhart is trying to strike for his client. That's his job. I don't hate the guy for doing it. I don't think the Arizona Cardinals appreciate him playing this out publicly, but he has a job to do, and this is what he thinks is the best move for him and his client. But so do the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, as I said, and I'll repeat this again, they have a history of paying their guys, and if they just hold serve and they pay him, and after the draft, June, July, all this was just us blowing smoke for 30 minutes a day.
just like B said, man, we have dominated the headlines. Super Bowl narrative is process.
We're in the
proceeding as
news,
planned.
baby. We're staying relevant.
They know what they're doing. He said the Super Bowl narrative is proceeding as planned. That's crazy because guess what? Do you think that the team, just a little sidebar, do you think that the team would, since the NFL has said they do not want the home team to be in the Super Bowl again, do you think that the Cardinals would be willing to dump this season and move on with the idea that since we can't be there, we might as well capitalize on this moment?
Well,
Crazy
I mean,
talk? Is that crazy
you ask
talk,
the fan base, they've dumped this season by not participating in free agency already. I mean, they have not added to a team last year that went 1-5 down the stretch. We talked about that in our first segment with bringing back AJ Green. I've never viewed this season as an all-in season for a Super Bowl appearance in your own building, just because they probably don't view that as a likelihood either. I mean, crazy things can happen. There's still playoff odds in their favor to get to the postseason, but I mean, like they're not aggressive this offseason in extending their quarterback or improving their team substantially, Bo.
But we've created a new, we've moved the goalposts of when you need to extend your quarterback. I just don't understand like why we're just like, oh, it's perfectly fine. It's never happened before, but it needs to happen with Kyler Murray, even though there's guys that have accomplished more. Even though Kyler Murray, look, I'm not taking away from what he's done. Two-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Heisman Trophy in his trophy case. I mean, it's really impressive. You'd be hard-pressed to find a more impressive resume than Kyler Murray. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think that there is, especially how things ended last season, it's the water's a little bit murkier, but the team views him as the future franchise quarterback. They will pay him. They're just not going to do anything. He doesn't get special treatment just because they want it now. It's
Kiro,
not J.G. Whitworth. Hey, I want my money. I want it now.
I want it now. Kiro saying, Johnny, you were the one that reported that Kyler unfollowed the Cardinals. I love you, but I'll never forgive you. First of all, that's nice of you to say. The
messenger.
We like to have fun on this show. And yes, that you know, February did happen. Kyler Murray did scrub his Instagram, but we made the most of it. As did my coworkers today at a lunch outing, mocking my ability to chug a beer. For those of you, again, that need a reference photo, this is what I'm talking about. I hate everyone. This is for producer Jacob's birthday lunch. Yeah,
what are they drinking though? What's our boy Espo on the left have there? What kind of cocktail is that?
He, Shane, and Jacob all have the same drink. Shane, can I bring you on, producer Shane?
It was a grapefruit cocktail they had.
Oh, fancy!
Pretty good.
I think that's the correct way to actually drink that drink.
That's very true. Not how you chug a beer. I want to remind everybody that children 5 and older are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is the best tool we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID-19. The vaccine can reduce the chances and the risks of being hospitalized or even dying from the disease. It's safe, free, and highly effective, and vaccines are available throughout Arizona. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccine for a location nearest to you.
And we have a new partner in the house. Excited to welcome OG's brand to the PHNX family. OG's is one of Arizona's first original scratch-made cannabis kitchens. Is dedicated to creating innovative and memorable cannabis-infused products that flavor life's journey. You'll never look silly eating or consuming OG's like Johnny did with the Miller Lite, Coors Light. The quality of their products stem from the combination of accurate dosing and amazing flavor. Edibles are not a one-size-fits-all product, which is why OG's is proud to offer a wide range of products for all demographics and preferences. Their motto, flavoring life. And that's something we can all get behind. Let's get tropical, like the drink Shane was putting down at lunch today. Tropical fruit flavors with guava, strawberry kiwi, raspberry orange, and pina colada. So many different flavors, and it's not a one-size-fits-all thing as far as your dosing goes. If you're interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's provides, go to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com to find OG's near you. And I guess they're going to be out there downtown on Friday, as is the PHNX crew, doing some content.
We got so much good content coming your way. I mentioned at the top of the show, bears repeating 2 weeks from today, live from the Ainsworth Hotel in Phoenix, April 28th, the NFL Draft. We're going to have Byron Murphy, CB1 in the house, shaking hands, kissing babies, signing autographs, as well as my guy Frank Sanders, Damien Anderson. Bo and I will be there as well. We're going to have draft coverage out the wall. All 3 days, we're going to have draft coverage. We're going to be live for the entirety of the first round. It's going to be absolutely insane. If you need to bone up on some PHNX, go to gophnx.com now, become a member, join our member Discord, chat with Bo and I. Go get a free t-shirt from the PHNX merchandise locker like the one I've got on right now. Bo's got the same one. If you become a member for the year, you get a free tee. Order it now. Maybe you get it in time. Come hang out at the Ainsworth in 2 weeks. But regardless, we want to see everybody out at the Ainsworth. Show some unity in support of our Cardinals as they no doubt blunder the first overall pick. And we all leave disappointed.
Man, you have much confidence.
Who's one of the inside linebackers as they take the kid from Georgia, Dean, as they take an inside backer.
Oh, you terrible dog. They will take a kicker. We're going to take a kicker. That's what we're going to take. We're going to take a kicker with the first overall pick, 23rd pick in the 2020 draft.
Albert in the chat says, let Johnny eat an edible to calm down about Kyler's contract. All right, let's.
You're gonna trip balls and you freak out even more. So it's gonna go completely wrong.
It will. I'm not. When I take an edible, it goes the opposite way.
Yeah, I'm freaking out, man.
Super paranoid.
Franchise quarterback.
This has been a very eventful day. AJ Green is back for some reason. Kyler Murray is still pissed off about his contract. We will be back tomorrow for PHNX Cardinals Live on a Friday. We had gone, like 20 some days without Kyler Murray contract talk.
It's our incident board. It's at zero again.
It got shaved. Now it's at zero. It'll probably get re-upped next week. But until then, for Bo Brock, Frank Sanders, I'm Johnny Venerable. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. We'll see you tomorrow.